Let's talk about the Russian ruble, a currency that, until recently, was the global punchline for financial disaster. For decades, the ruble was synonymous with instability, wild inflation, and the kind of economic chaos that made investors run for the hills. Whenever financial experts wanted to illustrate a cautionary tale, the ruble was their go-to example. It was the currency you'd joke about at parties, the one you'd never want in your portfolio. Yet here we are in mid-2025 and the ruble is the world's hottest currency. That's right, the same ruble that was once written off as a lost cause is now the star performer on the global stage. It's not just making headlines, it's rewriting the rules of international finance and leaving seasoned investors scratching their heads. It's up over 40% against the US dollar this year alone. That's not a typo or a rounding error. In a world where most currencies are struggling to keep their heads above water, the ruble is soaring, defying every prediction and expectation. If you'd put $1,000 into rubles in January, you'd have $1,400 now, outperforming stocks, gold, and even those can't-miss sneakers. Imagine telling your friends you skipped the latest tech IPO or the hottest crypto, and instead, you bet on the ruble. You'd be the surprise genius at every dinner party. The ruble has left the euro, pound, and yen in the dust. These are currencies backed by some of the world's largest economies, and yet, they're trailing far behind. The ruble's performance isn't just impressive, it's historic. It's a comeback so wild even Hollywood would call it too far-fetched. If you pitched this story as a movie script, producers would laugh you out of the room. But sometimes reality is stranger and more dramatic than fiction. And all this is happening while Russia is still, well, Russia, under sanctions, at war, and facing a global slowdown. The country is grappling with international isolation, supply chain disruptions, and a host of challenges that should, by all logic, be dragging the ruble down. Instead, it's doing the exact opposite. Financial analysts are baffled, using words like unprecedented rally and defies economic gravity, which is code for, we have no idea what's happening. The experts are scrambling for explanations, but the usual playbook just doesn't fit this story. How did a currency from a sanctioned, embattled country become the belle of the ball? How did the ruble go from being a symbol of economic failure to the envy of global markets? The answer is as complex as it is fascinating. This isn't just about numbers, it's about power, politics, and some very strange economic engineering. The ruble's rise is a story of bold moves, risky bets, and a government willing to rewrite the rules to survive and thrive. So let's dive into the bizarre cocktail of factors that turned the ruble from a joke into a juggernaut. We'll explore the secret ingredients, the unexpected twists, and the global ripple effects that have everyone talking. We'll look at the Kremlin's desperate measures, shifting global politics, and the unintended consequences of economic isolation. From oil deals to new alliances, from currency controls to digital innovation, every piece of the puzzle matters. Understanding the ruble's wild ride is about understanding a world where the old rules of economics no longer apply. The textbooks are being rewritten in real time, and the ruble is at the center of this new financial reality. Buckle up, this is going to get weird. The story of the ruble's rise isn't just about money, it's about a changing world, and it's only just getting started. To truly understand the ruble's recent surge, we need to rewind and revisit the dramatic events that shook Russia's economy to its core. Just a few years ago, the ruble was in freefall, and the mood across Russia was tense and uncertain. People lined up for hours outside banks, desperate to withdraw their savings before the currency lost even more value. In 2022, following the invasion of Ukraine, the West responded with a wave of unprecedented sanctions. Russia was cut off from the SWIFT banking system, its central bank assets were frozen, and hundreds of global companies abruptly pulled out, leaving empty storefronts and a sense of isolation. The intention was clear: to crash the Russian economy, undermine confidence, and render the ruble nearly worthless on the global stage. For a time, these measures seemed to work. The ruble's value nosedived, panic gripped the public, and the financial system teetered on the brink of collapse. Russians scrambled to secure their money, fearing the worst. Meanwhile, the costs of war soared, and global oil prices, Russia's economic lifeline, began to soften. Economic analysts and pundits around the world predicted a total collapse was imminent. The ruble became a symbol of Russia's vulnerability, a canary in the coal mine for the nation's economic health. At that moment, its future looked bleak. But then, against all odds, the narrative began to shift. The ruble, once written off, started to recover and even strengthen. So how did Russia manage to turn a currency in freefall into today's so-called powerhouse? The answer lies in a combination of harsh capital controls, economic desperation, and a few fortunate geopolitical twists. The Russian government imposed strict limits on currency movement, forcing exporters to convert foreign earnings into rubles and restricting access to foreign currency. The Kremlin refused to play by the usual economic rules. Instead, it locked down the financial system, creating a tightly controlled environment, almost like an artificial terrarium, where the ruble could be propped up and even appear to thrive. But this story of survival comes with a steep price. Ordinary Russians have faced rising prices, shortages, and a shrinking selection of goods. The sense of normalcy is fragile, and the cost of maintaining the ruble's strength is felt in everyday life. What some call an economic miracle is, in reality, a story of radical top-down control. The government's heavy hand has shaped every aspect of the recovery, leaving little room for organic growth or true resilience. The ruble's newfound strength is not the result of a healthy, competitive economy. It's engineered, carefully managed, and ultimately fragile. And that's the paradox at the heart of Russia's economic roller coaster, a currency that looks strong on paper but whose foundation is anything but secure. The first tool in Russia's arsenal? Sky-high interest rates. The central bank hiked rates to 20% in 2022 and kept them punishingly high, currently at 18%. Why? To stop people from dumping rubles and to lure money into Russian banks. High rates made ruble savings attractive, even beating inflation for ordinary Russians. For risk-tolerant investors, it was a carry-trade goldmine. But this solution chokes off loans and growth, keeping the economy on life support. For the Kremlin, survival trumped growth, and the high interest wall held. Next came capital controls, Russia's economic fortress. The government made it nearly impossible for money to leave the country. Buying foreign currency was restricted, and foreign investors couldn't cash out. The ruble's value became detached from market reality, propped up by rules, not demand. With imports decimated by sanctions, Russian companies needed fewer dollars or euros. The result, demand for foreign currency collapsed, making the ruble look artificially strong. The ruble became less a currency, more a government-issued voucher. Its strength was a product of isolation, not global confidence. The Kremlin's rules, not the market, set the price. It's a closed loop, strong on paper but locked in a straitjacket. The ruble's rise is a story of scarcity, not success. The Kremlin didn't stop at defense, it went on offense. Exporters like Gazprom and Rosneft were forced to convert most of their foreign earnings into rubles. This created relentless, artificial demand for the ruble, billions in foreign currency converted daily. It's like a state-owned whale always buying, no matter the price. The policy funneled energy profits straight into propping up the currency. Russia's current account surplus soared, as foreign cash was trapped and recycled. The forced conversion rule became rocket fuel for the ruble's rally. It counteracted sanctions and kept the financial system afloat. But it sacrificed corporate freedom for state stability. The ruble's strength was bought at a steep cost. The ruble's rise isn't just about Russia, global shifts matter too. The US dollar weakened in late 2024 as the Fed paused rate hikes. Peace talks over Ukraine, however fragile, improved market sentiment. Investors began betting on a Russian recovery and a possible easing of sanctions. Meanwhile, US political shifts signaled a less confrontational stance. The world is becoming more multipolar, and Russia is at the forefront of de-dollarization. The ruble's rally is as much about global uncertainty as Kremlin policy. The dollar and euro are out. China's yuan is in. Russia has pivoted east, making the yuan its top trading and reserve currency. Most Russian trade with China now happens in yuan or rubles, bypassing the dollar. The yuan's dominance on the Moscow exchange is a seismic shift. For Russia, it's a lifeline. For China, a chance to globalize its currency. This new alignment insulates Russia from Western sanctions. The yuan's rise is both a necessity and a strategic play. The ruble's strength is now tied to China as much as to oil. A strong ruble sounds great until you look closer. It slashes government revenues since oil and gas are sold in foreign currency but expenses are in rubles. A stronger ruble means fewer rubles per barrel, squeezing the budget. It also makes Russian exports pricier and less competitive, while imports, where possible, get cheaper. The ruble's strength is artificial, dependent on controls and forced conversions. These policies suffocate private enterprise and distort the economy. The currency is vulnerable to shocks, oil price drops, failed peace talks, or a shift in China's stance. The foundation is shaky, built on sand, not stone. The ruble's miracle is a high-wire act, not a stable recovery. Its strength is a symbol of control, not economic health. So, what's next for the ruble? The truth is, no one can say for certain. The future of Russia's currency is shrouded in uncertainty, with every new headline and global event adding another twist to its story. Its fate is closely tied to the unpredictable swings of global oil prices, which remain the lifeblood of the Russian economy. When oil prices rise, the ruble can find some strength, but when they fall, the currency faces immediate pressure. The outcome of ongoing peace talks with Ukraine is another critical factor. Any breakthrough or setback in negotiations could send shockwaves through the ruble's value, affecting not just Russia but markets worldwide. And then there's the Kremlin's willingness to keep tight controls in place. Capital restrictions, currency interventions, and strict regulations. These measures have propped up the ruble so far, but they come at a cost. High interest rates and capital controls can't last forever. Eventually, they start to choke off economic growth, making it harder for businesses to borrow, invest, and expand. Over time, these policies can strangle growth and deter both domestic and foreign investment, leaving the economy stagnant and vulnerable. If the government lifts these controls too soon, the ruble could crash. But if they keep them in place, the economy risks grinding to a halt. It's a delicate balancing act with no easy answers. The ruble's future is truly a tightrope walk. One misstep could mean disaster, while careful moves might buy more time. Stability and collapse are never far apart. Its current strength is less a sign of genuine resilience and more a testament to the power of state intervention and control. In many ways, the ruble is both the world's hottest and most fragile currency, capable of dramatic swings in either direction at a moment's notice. The ruble's trajectory will reflect not just the fate of Russia itself, but also the shifting, unpredictable world order that surrounds it. As global alliances shift and economic power centers move, the ruble's journey will be watched closely by investors, governments, and ordinary people alike. The story of the ruble is a warning, a reminder that in today's interconnected world, no currency is truly isolated from global events. In a world of economic Calvin ball where the rules seem to change every day, what looks like a miracle today can quickly become a mirage tomorrow. The ruble's apparent strength could vanish overnight, leaving uncertainty in its wake. So, keep watching. The next twist in the ruble's dramatic story is just around the corner.